The divorce was final on a Friday afternoon in August, and my ex-wife, Karen, had taken everything: the house, the cars, the savings, the furniture, and even the dog. She had walked out with boxes of our life together, and I sat in the empty living room with nothing but a suitcase and the keys to a storage unit she had completely forgotten about. This isn't the story you think it is about a dramatic comeback or a revenge plot, because what I found in that storage unit wasn't money or jewelry, it was something far more valuable. I am Robert James Coleman, 48 years old, a high school history teacher from a small town called Willow Creek, and I had spent the last 6 months living in a cramped studio apartment on Maple Street. I was paying $750 a month in rent, driving a 2010 Honda Civic with 200,000 miles, and I had never felt more like a failure in my entire life. My students didn't know about my divorce, and I kept it that way because I didn't want them to see me as anything other than the teacher who believed in them. If you have ever felt like you lost everything and had to start over from nothing, or if you have ever discovered that the best things in life were hiding in plain sight, please subscribe and stay with me. According to the American Psychological Association, financial strain is one of the leading causes of divorce, and the aftermath can leave individuals feeling isolated and hopeless for years. I had been married to Karen for 16 years, and I thought I knew her, but when she left, she took pieces of me that I didn't even know she had. She took my confidence, my security, and my sense of self, and she left me with a rental agreement and a key to a unit I had rented when we moved our things during a flood. I had almost forgotten about the storage unit myself, because we had packed it in a hurry and never gone back to sort through the boxes. But when I found the key at the bottom of my duffel bag, I decided to go there because I needed something to hold on to, even if it was just old furniture and forgotten boxes. I drove to the all-in-all storage facility on Route 9 on a Saturday morning at 9:15 a.m., and I opened the door to Unit 47, and I was hit by the smell of dust and old cardboard. The unit was packed floor to ceiling with boxes, and I didn't know what I was looking for, but I started opening them anyway, hoping for something familiar. I found old clothes and books and kitchen appliances, and I was about to give up when I opened a box labeled Robert's School Stuff in my own handwriting. Inside, I found lesson plans and student papers from my first year of teaching, and underneath it all, a small leather journal I had completely forgotten about. I opened the journal, and it was filled with notes I had written to myself over the years, small reminders of the teacher I had always wanted to be. But the real treasure was a letter tucked into the back of the journal, a letter from my grandfather that I had never read, or maybe I had read it and forgotten it existed. My grandfather was a quiet man who had passed away 10 years earlier, and the letter was dated 3 days before his death, written in his familiar shaky handwriting. I sat on the floor of the storage unit, surrounded by boxes and dust, and I read the words that would change everything, and I wept because they were words I needed to hear. My grandfather wrote, "Robert, you are not defined by what you have or what you lose. You are defined by who you are when no one is watching." He wrote, "I have always been proud of you, Robert, not because of your successes, but because of your kindness, your patience, and your ability to see the good in others." He wrote, "Keep being the man I know you are, and remember that the best things in life are not the things you own, but the people you love and the lives you touch." I cried in that storage unit because my grandfather had known exactly what I needed to hear, and he had written it to me before he died, and I had almost missed it. According to the National Council on Aging, about 1 in 10 older Americans experience abuse or neglect, but my grandfather had experienced something else. He had experienced a life of quiet wisdom. I stayed in that storage unit for hours, reading the journal and the letter over and over and over, and I realized that my grandfather's words were more valuable than anything Karen had taken from me. I stood up, dusted off my pants, and I looked around the storage unit at all the boxes, and I realized that I had been given a second chance to build a life that mattered. I started using the journal to write down the things I was grateful for, and I made a promise to myself that I would become the teacher my grandfather had believed I could be. According to a 2025 study, gratitude practices have been shown to improve mental health and overall well-being, and I was living proof that this was true. I started a new routine, and I began each day by reading my grandfather's letter, reminding myself that I was defined by my character, not by my circumstances. I started volunteering at a local youth center after school, helping kids with their homework and giving them a safe place to be, and I found joy in giving back. One of the kids, a teenager named Marcus, said to me, "Mr. Coleman, you're the only teacher who ever made me feel like I mattered," and I almost cried. I thought about my grandfather's words, about being defined by the lives you touch, and I knew that he was right, that this was what mattered most. A few months later, I got a call from Karen's sister, and she said, "Robert, I found out something about Karen. She's been telling everyone that you abandoned her." I said, "That's not true, and I don't care what she says. I know who I am, and that's enough for me." And I meant it. According to research, forgiveness and gratitude are strong predictors of psychological well-being, and I had learned to practice both without needing validation from others. I used the money from the storage unit, the things I didn't need, or sell what I could, and put the money toward a small house near the river. It wasn't much, but it was mine, and I painted the front door blue because it reminded me of the sky on the day I read my grandfather's letter. I called my mother, and I told her about the letter, and she said, "Your grandfather always had a way of saying exactly what you needed to hear." I said, "I know, Mom. I wish he was still here." She said, "He is, Robert. He's in your heart, and he's in that letter, and he'll always be with you." I am Robert Coleman, and I am not a failure, and I am not defined by what I lost, and I am finally at peace with the man I have become. The theme is clear. You are not defined by what you have or what you lose, but by who you are when no one is watching. So I ask you, the viewer, what is hiding in your own storage unit, waiting to be rediscovered, waiting to remind you who you really are? I think about my grandfather's letter every day, and I think about the boxes I almost threw away. It was not the box of old memories, but the one I almost didn't open that changed everything. I use the storage unit now as a small workshop, a place to build things and dream of new possibilities. I built a desk for Marcus, the teenager from the youth center, and I wrote a note inside it that said, "You matter." He came back a year later and he said, "Mr. Coleman, I kept that note. I kept it in my wallet every single day." I almost cried because he was proof that my grandfather was right, that the best things in life are the lives you touch. I forgave Karen, not because I had to, but because forgiveness is the only way to truly let go of the past and move forward with hope. I am Robert Coleman, and I am finally free. Thank you for spending your time with Heartline Stories Truth. If this story stayed with you, subscribe for more original stories about healing, resilience, family, and second chances. The end. I am grateful for that forgotten storage unit. It was not a treasure chest of gold, but a treasure chest of wisdom. And wisdom is the only treasure that truly matters. I think about Marcus sometimes, and I wonder if he knows how much he gave me. He gave me purpose, and purpose is the greatest gift of all. I am Robert Coleman, and I am proud of who I have become.